He plays the guitar, goes to graduate school. He even skateboards. If the white cane didn't give it away, you probably wouldn't know that Brian Bushway is completely blind.
Having a disability doesn't hold me back, but it does create some obstacles, and those are usually the social issues and other people's thoughts about blindness. But my approach has always been just just live our lives, and we will just redefine what it means to be a person that is blind.
The problem isn't Brian's eyes. They function just fine. It's his optic nerve. That's the connection between the eye and the brain. Doctors still aren't sure exactly what happened, but it stopped working when he was just 14 years old.
I started noticing that something was happening with my vision at the end of 7th grade, and my world started becoming smaller and smaller and smaller because I felt uncomfortable doing activities. I felt uncomfortable moving.
One morning, Brian woke up and his vision was gone. In less than a year, his life had changed completely.
I went from being an active teenager outdoors to now doing nothing, just sitting on the couch and wondering what was going to happen. What changed in my scenario was meeting Daniel Kish in World Access for the Blind.
If you stay calm, you will always find your way.
Daniel Kish is blind, and he's been that way since he was 13 months old. Cancer forced doctors to remove both of his eyes, but he can still see through sound.
All right, go explore.
Daniel uses echolocation. Actually, he's perfected it. He calls it flash sonar.
Flash sonar is another way of seeing, but it's a way of seeing through flashes of sound instead of flashes of light. And in that sense, it is a cousin to vision.
He's now teaching others to do the same through his nonprofit that he started 13 years ago. It's called World Access for the Blind. On this day, he's in Nuremberg, Germany, running a seminar for young blind children and their parents.
Yes, tell me when it comes back. There it is. You're right, you're right.
Ah!
And it's easier to hear when we're really little, okay?
He's taught countless others over the years,
Excellent use of your canes.
including Brian Bushway. For Brian, echolocation meant reconnecting with the world he knew before blindness.
Discovering echolocation was amazing, and Daniel explaining how it worked in teaching me and showing of approach of how to strategically use it and refine it really opened up my world.
Echolocation is an assessment of the environment. Brian clicks his tongue, sending out a sound wave. The sound then bounces off objects around him, like the apartment building or a tree. Each element registers a different return echo that comes back to Brian's ears. He can decipher the sound based on density and distance to know what and where the object is. With confidence in his surroundings, Brian easily navigates the streets in his neighborhood.
So I noticed we have a wall here and there's some cars parked along the side, and it opened up right here, and you can hear that there's a building. I had to rewire my brain to understand this echo information and to find it useful. And with the guidance of Daniel, my skills developed relatively pretty quickly.
Don't forget that you guys have click sonar.
In Germany, Daniel's guidance will open up a new world for these kids too. And like learning a new language, the earlier the kids start practicing echolocation, the better.
We believe in freedom first. We believe that freedom of movement and development go hand in hand. They support each other, they drive each other, and they must occur at the point of blindness. If that point of blindness was at birth, then it must occur at birth. And we are there as early as we can possibly be there to provide all of the perceptual development training, including cane training, as early as we possibly can for these children. And again, as before, we will have the students take the lead.
But echolocation at this level isn't yet a mainstream tool in the blind community. The emphasis is still on white canes and guide dogs. In fact, one of the leading blindness organizations in the United States cautions that echolocation might not work for everyone. The National Federation of the Blind told us this: "We don't discourage these other methods of echolocation, but each blind person is different, so these methods may work better for some than for others. We believe that for the vast majority of blind people, learning to use a white cane or a dog guide, if preferred, is the foundation of successful mobility." Daniel maintains echolocation provides a freedom that comes from not having to rely on anyone or anything else.
You can hear this quite easily by clicking. I think that the skepticism or controversies that exist result largely from just a misunderstanding of what it is that we're doing and why, and also a misunderstanding about blindness. Blindness is considered a severe disability. It's considered one of the most disabling conditions there is. Now, to watch these kids run around on this mountain, it's hard to reconcile that.
Brian is Daniel's star student. He's also working with Daniel's organization. It's the same place that gave him a new outlook on life.
Watching students learn this skill and watching families open up their own minds and their own lives to what their blind child is capable of is an incredibly enriching, meaningful experience to be a part of.
Brian still considers himself a student of echolocation and says he always will be. Each new place he goes is another chance to hone his skills. So to put echolocation to the test, we took him to Malibu's Solstice Canyon to hike some trails he's never been on before. He never missed a step. The combination of his white cane and echolocation gave him the freedom to hike trails around the canyon with confidence.
I never thought I'd be living the life I'm living now when I woke up that morning and was blind. In hindsight now, life is far more enriching and interesting that I've discovered echolocation because I'm actively living through the rest of my other senses. When I just had vision, I was only living through that one sense and kind of ignoring the rest of everything else. So now I spend all my time actively living in my other senses and just, there's lots of interesting things to discover and to enjoy about life.